guys, it's Jackie here with Over the Hill Home Decor. Today I would like to take you guys on a DIY adventure with me. I'm going to be overhauling some of these trash to treasures that I've hauled from the thrift store. And I just wanted to take you guys along the journey so that way you guys can see what I do and get some ideas. And also they are for resale, so you can find all of this stuff at Over the Hill Home Decor on Facebook if you would like to purchase some. But let's stay tuned and we'll get started on our DIY projects for today. So these are the projects. So we have two cheese graters here, old rustic cheese graters, a rake head that we're going to upcycle, and also this drying rack. We are going to do something fun with that, and then also this cutting board. So let's go ahead and get started, and I will take you guys along the journey. So here you can see that we're going to use this rake, this old rake head, and this wood board. So what we're going to do, we're going to attach it to this wood board. But first, we're going to paint. So we are going to use this Waverly antique wax mixed with a water. So the mixture is going to look like this. It's going to have kind of like a chocolate milk look to it, or a coffee look to it. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to brush it onto the board, the piece of wood, as evenly as possible. Making sure that you get all the ends and the sides completely covered. Okay, so now that the board has dried, we're going to go ahead and grab the rake and we're going to place it on the board where we'd like to have it hang or be placed. So once we have that, I have also printed out some words, a phrase that says fresh from the garden. And I'm just placing them where I think they look best. And as you can see here, the garden sign is right in the middle of the rake. Now, since these words were printed out on printer paper, I am taking my transfer paper and placing it underneath and tracing over each letter individually to make sure that it transfers to the board. So as you'll see here, you have to hold it pretty firm to make sure that the paper doesn't move and that you have a great transfer from the paper to the board. As I finished drawing in the words, I noticed that there is some spaces in between where the rake is and the words. So I noticed that we should fill those with maybe a flower or some kind of accent piece to put in there. So what I have done is I have gone to my Cricut and I have designed a stencil of a flower that I could place on there and paint over to have just that area kind of filled in. Okay, so now that we have the flowers where we want them, we want to go ahead and take the stencil portion off of the paper, the back of the paper. So it will give us just a moment while I take this off. It's a little more difficult than it should be. But what you do is you'll see here, all you do is just pull the backing away from the stencil. And you're going to want to be as careful as possible so that way you don't tear off any of the little parts of the flower. And then I just placed it right on the board, like so, and make sure that it was down firm enough so that way that the paint would not go through the stencil. So just place it on there nice and even, just push it down, make sure everything is flat. And then you'll notice that in the leaf there is a little line that you're going to want to place. So see right here, what you're going to want to do is put that right in the middle of the leaf. So you'll use your Cricut tool to get that off of the backing and then just press it into the leaf area. So you'll repeat this task with the other side, with the other flower, again taking off the backing and placing it down on the piece of wood. Now that we have both of our stencils placed in where we want them, we're going to use the Waverly black ink paint, chalk paint, to paint in our stencils. So just go ahead and brush it in nice and lightly, easily, so that way you don't rip any of the little pieces back from the stencil. So just go ahead and tap that in there, get it nice and even in there. You want to make sure that all the wood is covered so that way you have an even coat and that the wood is not showing through. And then you'll repeat and do the same thing on the other side. Okay, now that portion is done, what we're going to do is we're going to take our paint markers and we're going to fill in and paint our letters. So this is kind of a slower process because you want to make sure that you get all of the letter and all of your outline of the pencil that was used. You don't want any of that showing through. So make sure that you take your time and just make this look as good as you possibly can. And you're going to want to repeat this with all of the letters on the board. Alright, so since that part is done, we're going to go ahead and take off the stencil. So just go ahead and pull the stencil off very slowly, so making sure that you're not pulling back any of the paint along with it. Make sure it's completely dry. So also to take out the leaves, what you're going to do is that little piece that we put in, you're going to use your Cricut tool to go ahead and plug out that little stencil that's in the middle of the leaves to give it that leaf look to it. So just slowly prick those out and then you'll have this beautiful finished product. Now we're going to go ahead and figure out where we want this centered. We're going to attach this rake to the board now. What we're going to use is this Gorilla Glue hot glue sticks and the E6000 glue. So what we're going to do is we're going to place a little bit of the glue on where the rake touches the board. But first we need to make some marks on where the board and the rake come together. So I'm just going to use this little pencil and just make these little marks so that way when I move the rake I can see where to put the glue. So I've made my marks, so what we're going to do is move the rake out of the way, and then we're going to take the E6000 glue and we're going to place some of it in those marks that I made. So just a little dab will do. That stuff's pretty strong. And that way it won't leak out past the rake. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to take the hot glue and place it onto the rake. So it's placed on the rake. So now we're going to go ahead and place the rake onto the board. And making sure that we line up everything correctly so that the way the two glues can connect and make that solid bond. You're going to want to press down to make sure that it's nice and connected. It may move a little bit on you at first just because this E6000 is the slower processing glue. So what we're going to do is actually we are going to place some more hot glue around the edges to help it stick, have a sturdier bond, a nicer connection. So I'm just going to place the hot glue on both sides of the rake, just like so. And then what I'm going to do is just take my finger and just push it into the crevice, making sure that it's in there and not bulging out. So nice connection, make sure it's into the crevice and make sure that you get all of the visible glue off of the rake. And you're going to want to repeat this on the other side as well. Okay, so once you're finished with that, we're going to make the jars that hang from the rake. So there's 3 of these jars, and what we're going to do is we're going to take this twine that I have, and we are going to take the hot glue gun and hot glue it to the top sides of the jar. Let me move things out of the way so you guys can see better. So we're going to take the hot glue and we're going to glue it to the top of the jar, and we're going to wrap it around we're going to wrap it 1 full time around the jar and hot glue it 1 more time. Do that real quick. So just like that. So you're going to want to hold that there. And then you're going to want to wrap it around about 3-4 times to kind of give it some character to the top of the jar. And then stop at where you have hot glued it the first time. And then take a pair of scissors and you'll cut at that spot. And then you'll take the hot glue gun and you will hot glue it down again in that spot and push it down to make sure that it is firmly connected. And then you'll have the string around the top. And then what we're going to do is we're going to repeat this to all 3 jars. So you're going to want to do the same process to all 3 jars. have all 3 of our jars set up where they are all done at the top. They have their detail, the rope around the top. We're going to go ahead and place them underneath the rake to see how far down we want them to hang. And then I'm just going to take the rope and just place it to how far I want it to hang from the rake once the rake is mounted on the wall. So we'll do that. We'll cut those. So those 2 are going to be the same length. So we'll cut 2 of those. Let me move this out of the way. We'll cut 2 of those for the 2 outside jars. And then so to place them, what we're going to do is place one side on each side of the jar. And then we'll hot glue it down on one side, and then we'll hot glue it again on the other side. Like so. We'll place the hot glue there. Place the twine on there, and then we will also hot glue it on the other side of the jar to make it where it will be able to hang. So go ahead and do that to all 3, repeat that to all 3 jars, and then we will have I will show you how to cover up where the rope connects to the jar. Now that we have the jars where we want them, as far as having the handles on them, we're going to go ahead and take the jars now, and we're going to cover the handles by placing more twine over the handles. So we'll place a hot glue right behind where the handle is. We'll place the twine right in that hot glue, and then we'll wrap it around a few times, just to cover, about 3 times, just to cover up that handle end, and also give it the strength so when it is hanging there that it's not going to come undone. And then what you do is take your scissors and just cut it at where the handle is, and just place another dab of hot glue and push the little tail into the hot glue, and make sure that it is fully dry before hanging it on the rack. It takes just a couple seconds for that to dry. So you're going to do the same thing to all 3, and as you can see here, it covers up the handle very well. So just repeat these actions on all 3, these steps on all 3 jars, and we will move on to the next step. Now it's for the fun part. Now we get to fill these lovely jars with some floral decor. So I have some pieces here that I have picked out. So I have some baby's breath that I'm putting in, and there's about 3 sprigs on each little baby breath sprig that I'm putting in. And then I'm also going to take these cute little flowers and place those in there as well. So you can choose whatever flower that you would like, whatever sprig you would like, and you can just place them in the jars as shown above. So make sure that they're secure and in the jars, and then you are all set to go. The next project are these cheese graters. I have 2 different sizes where I have taken the twine and wrapped around the top. That part of the film got lost somehow. And then I also placed the the hooks on the back to be able to hang them up on the wall. So I have placed these. They are sealed and ready to go, and you can place them up on the wall and place the flower, any kind of flower decor in them. Just make sure that they don't hang out the bottom. So you'll want to cut those off. Take a pair of wire cutters to cut those off, just like so. And then you should be able to place them back in the cheese grater. So these are great where you can hang them up on the wall and change the floral out. So this is the second one. You'll do the same thing. Place the flowers in it like so. And they're ready to go. A nice, fun, easy project. So you just take 2 old cheese graters, you wrap the twine around the top, and then you place the flowers in the top. So here I was showing you how to put a towel, what you could use them for when you hang them on the wall. They are used for hanging towels. You could put a towel through the handle. Our next project is this cutting board. So what we're going to do is on the back of it, there's a whole bunch of scratches. And so what I've done is I have taken this Waverly white chalk paint, mixed it with water, and brushed it on there to cover up all of the cut marks. It was well used. So whoever owned this before definitely enjoyed it. But this seemed to help cover up all of the marks, all of the cut marks. So you're going to make sure that that's on there nice and dry. And then you are going to let that dry. And while that is drying, we're going to take the antique, Waverly antique wax, and we're going to paint the legs for these. So you're just going to dab a little bit of paint on there. And then you're going to take the other brush and spread it around a little bit more so it has that antique wash to it. So you're going to repeat this to all 4 legs. Once those are dry, we are going to go ahead and take those and we are going to use the E6000 and some super glue, the glue sticks, and we're going to place these on the cutting board. So first you're just going to put some of the E6000 on the cutting board in the place that you want to place the legs, just like so, in each corner. Just a little dab. In each of one of these corners, making sure that you get it nice and flat on there, just the right amount. And then you're going to take one of the legs and you're going to put super glue, or not the super glue, glue stick on one end of it, and you're just going to place it right onto that E6000 glue where you have placed it on the board. So you're just going to push it down nice and firm, make sure that you get rid of all the excess glue. And you're just going to repeat this to the rest of the legs. Okay, so once you have that finished, you can go ahead and turn it over and you have yourself a nice tray and it's all completely done. Okay, so as you can see here, I have cut the drying rack into 2 pieces. So when you do that, you have to punch out the holes where the middle rack was holding the 2 together. So I'm just aligning these. Make sure you get them aligned where where everything lines up. And then what we're going to do is we are going to take the E6000 here and we're going to place it onto the rack, holding to connect them, to make sure that they stay connected and lined up. So we're going to place that there first. Make sure you push down firmly to make sure that it's a good connection. And you're just going to want to dab that on there in all 3 spots like so. Make sure you push down and continuing to the last one, make sure that they're all aligned just like that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take the hot glue gun with the super glue hot glue sticks that we have, and we're going to also place it into the areas to help align them and keep them in place. So you're going to want to place quite a bit of hot glue. I placed some down in the hole just to secure that bond. And you're just going to want to repeat this to all 3 of the connections. So just like this, place some under there, and then also pushing it firmly down, and then place some hot glue into the hole to hold it, to give it that stronger bond. Okay, so you're just going to want to repeat this to the other set of the other drying rack, and continue to make sure you clean off all of the glue to give it that nice finish, and then just repeat it to the other side. Okay, now that that's done, what we're going to do is we are going to fit these shelves, make sure that they fit on there properly and aligned, and making sure everything is nice and secure. So I have cut these shelves in half to where the white little sticks sticking up are about 4.5 inches, and then the little pieces of wood are about 5 inches wide. So to make the width of the shelf. Okay, so now that we know that everything's lined up, what we're going to do is paint the shelves with the Waverly paint, chalk paint, antique wax, and mixed with the water. So it's just you want to mix it where it's a consistency of like chocolate milk or like a espresso look to it. If it's a little too watery, just go ahead and add some more paint to it. It won't hurt. And make sure it's mixed nice and well. And this part can make a mess, so just be prepared for that part. So just go ahead and you're going to want to make sure that you get even coats, get all the ends, and just brush that on there. So you can see here I had to add some more paint to it. It's a little on the thin side, but you're just going to want to brush it on. So I'll add some more paint to it to give it the little bit more texture, a little bit more color. And just go ahead and add some more paint and mix it in. And then you're just going to paint it all over both of the racks, making sure that you get all sides and ends of the paint. of it painted. And like I said, this can be the messy part. Okay, now we're going to flip the pieces over and we're going to repeat painting on the back. So once that's finished, let it dry and then we can move on to the next steps. Okay, so while those are drying, we're going to go ahead and take our boards, our shelves, and we're going to paint these as well. So we're going to lay them all out, and we're going to use the same antique, Waverly antique wax mixed with water. So just lay them out where they're nice and separated, have plenty of room to work, and then just grab your mixture, and we're going to go ahead and make sure that we paint both sides, front and back. So now we're going to paint the other side. So once you're done with that, we'll go ahead and we'll set these aside to dry. Then we will start working on the shelves. So you'll notice here on the shelves that we need to do some touch-up work. You'll see that some spots are a little bit darker than others. So we'll go ahead and place another coat of our Waverly antique wax water mix, and we'll let that dry. those dry, we're going to go ahead and paint these white dowels with the antique Waverly antique wax. So we're just going to go ahead and place a little on these little white dowels, the shelf holders, just to kind of match them with the antique wood look that we have going on the shelves. So you're going to want to make sure that you get all of the tops and ends and make sure that you get it all the way around each of these white dowels, and just repeat the process through all of them. Okay, so now that those are dried, we're going to go ahead and attach our little wood pieces to our wood shelves to make the actual shelves. So to do this, we're going to use our the Gorilla glue sticks, and we are going to attach them by placing a little bit of the glue to the sticks and to where the shelf connects to the rack. So just go ahead and play around with it, make sure that they're all even the way that they should be, and we're just going to go ahead and place the glue there. So you're going to place the glue right on top of these dowels on each side, and then you're also going to take some up the dowel. You'll go all the way to the end of the dowel on both sides, to just make sure that it gives that more of a sturdy connection. And then what you're going to do is you're going to grab your piece of wood, and you're just going to make sure that you have the right side up, whatever side works best for you, and you're just going to firmly press it all together, making sure that the dowels are lined up with the edges of the piece of wood, and then that the piece of wood is connected to the rack. So make sure pushing firmly, make sure it's right where you want it to be, and you're just going to repeat this process with the rest of the pieces of wood to make your shelf. Have attached all of the pieces of wood to our shelves, I just make sure that you wipe off any leftover paint And then we're just going to take our Waverly Antique wax mix and we're just going to touch up the dowels. So pushing firmly to connect the shelves, it kind of took off some of the paint for the dowels that we placed on there. So we're just going to touch them up by placing some paint back on them. So easy fix. So you just dab some on your brush and just wipe it on the dowels and it will blend it all back in. So just make sure you repeat this to all of the dowels to get that complete coverage finish that you were looking for. So once those have dried, then you have your completed rack and your shelves all connected. So you'll see here, just make sure you clean off any of your super glue that the little spider webs that come from your super glue, make sure those are all cleaned off. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to flip them over to attach the hanging attachments to be able to hang them onto the wall. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and flip them over and we're going to attach the hardware to the back, to the top back. So what we're going to do, and let me adjust this where you can see it. So we're going to attach it to the back top. So let me just move this over here. And there's already a hole there from where there used to be a dowel that connected the top to complete the rack. So with that taken off, we can go ahead and place some of our super glue, hot glue into that area and then into that hole. And then we're going to place the hardware screw into the hot glue and it's going to act as a bond to connect that piece to hold that in there. So just place it into the hole and pushing down firmly and just hold it there for just a second. And then you'll notice, make sure that it's nice and straight, and then you are all set. Now, okay guys, well that's it for today's DIY videos. I hope you guys enjoyed them as much as I did. It was a fun adventure taking you guys along for the ride. Please subscribe to our channel and give us some comments on how we are doing and also some advice on our video. I love the feedback. You know, no matter what it is, please let me know so that way I can fix it and do better. And also, if you guys are into this kind of stuff, we do have a Facebook page at Over the Hill Home Decor. We do live sales monthly, so that won't be something that you'll want to miss out on. And thank you again for coming along this journey with us, and we'll see you on the next video. Take care. Make sure you like and subscribe. Take care.